Hi YouTubers, this is my latest video. It's called The Rules of Conflict Management. So these are my 11 rules of how to manage conflict between yourself and another individual. Okay, rule number 1. Never resolve a conflict with someone via text message or email. There are reasons for that. Email and text messaging can be misconstrued. They can be misunderstood. Your meaning cannot necessarily come across as you intended it to. And the person receiving the text message is likely to think that it is the negative meaning, and they're thus going to not text you back, they're not going to respond to you, and your ability to resolve that conflict is completely gone. So the best ways to resolve conflict are over a telephone conversation, or for extreme conflicts, face to face. Okay, preferably with someone mediating between the two of you, but I'll come on to that in a bit. Number 2, listen to the other person until they have finished. There's nothing worse than when someone's trying to get off their system something to you, and you go, don't, just sit there and listen, and if necessary say, right, have you finished now? Have you finished saying what you want to say? And then say your bit. But leave them to say whatever they want to say, even if you feel like interrupting or you feel like you should interrupt. Let them finish. Okay? A person will respect you more if you allow them to finish rather than butt in to try and justify why they're not right and why your point is right. Okay. Rule number 3 of conflict management. First, seek to understand and then to be understood. Now, this is a quote by an author called Stephen R. Covey, who wrote the book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Okay, just so you make sure you don't think it's my quote. Okay, this is a very good quote because the best way to understand others is just first to try and understand them, and then give them the opportunity to understand you. Yeah, they'll be more likely to try and understand your point of view if you have gone out to understand their point of view first. Okay, number 4. Don't agree with everything the other person says just because you are fed up with the conflict. So a conflict's gone on for a while and you just feel like giving in. You feel like saying, oh well, they're right in their thing, you know, they're right in their point of view. If I just cave in and give in to their point of view, then that will make everything hunky-dory. Wrong. Yeah, the person will see that you don't really agree with their point of view, that you're just saying you agree with it to get the arguments and conflicts out of the way. This is not a good way to resolve a conflict. Okay, there are rare opportunities where it's okay to agree to disagree, but that has to be made clear that you are agreeing to disagree. You're not agreeing to agree but really disagreeing. You are agreeing to disagree, and you need to make that point clear, that you still disagree but you are agreeing to disagree. Okay, point number 5. If you have to leave someone to cool off, make sure you go back. Okay, this is very important, right? If a person needs to cool off and you don't feel you can resolve the conflict with that person because they are too up there, okay, give them time to come down, but then go back when you feel they are down, you know, not high on anger, okay, and then try to resolve the conflict then, okay? Always go back, don't leave them, don't think, oh well, the person will forget. You know, things, if you've hurt someone or someone feels they're hurt by you, you need to go and resolve that if you care about that person. Okay, 6. Don't respond when you feel angry. So if you feel angry, right, you feel like really throttling the person, it's best not to try and resolve the conflict there and then. Say to the person, I need a time out, I need some time to really think about and reflect what's gone on, and then I will get back to you. Okay, be very clear about that. Yeah, don't try and resolve the conflict with the person when you've got a lot of ill feeling towards that person. You know, you don't use a hammer to swat a fly. It's not good practice, okay? Right, so number 7. If you have to be cruel to be kind, just remember to be kind after being cruel. Very important this. If you have to tell a few home truths to someone and you feel you need to critique them over their behaviour and you feel it's an objective critique, an objective point to make about their behaviour or character, just make sure to be positive about them afterwards. This is very important. Or you could use what I call the sandwich technique. This is where you are positive about someone, then you drop in the negative aspect that you need to get across, and then you put the positive back on top again. So you start on a positive, finish on a positive, with the negative in between. Okay, that's what I call the sandwich technique, and it works reasonably well, particularly in my job, where I have to get a negative across. Often the people I work with can't necessarily always stomach a negative on its own, so you sandwich in the negative in between the positives. Okay, number 8. Don't be afraid to accept fault when it is your fault. So if you know that you've let someone down, just be honest about that. Don't think, oh well, my pride, I've got to always be right and the other person's wrong. If you know you're wrong, say, I was wrong, I'm sorry, I messed up. Yeah, it's a very important thing in conflict management, because you're never going to resolve a conflict if you're always saying other people are wrong and you are right. Okay, number 9. Get a third person to mediate if you can, or if it is appropriate to do so. I understand in some situations it's not appropriate to have a third person mediating. Some marital conflicts don't need a third person to come in and mediate between the husband and wife. But if it's a major marital conflict where they're headed for divorce courts, then a third person, a counsellor or someone, is a very important individual to have to mediate between the two. It's the same with friendship. If it's minor points that the friends are disagreeing over, then they can resolve it just the two of them. But if it's something really major, get another friend involved that's a mutual friend of the two of you. Okay, number 10. If the person is unwilling to resolve the conflict, give them time and come back to them another time and try and resolve the conflict. Yeah? So if the person says, oh, I don't want to resolve this conflict right now, I don't want to deal with it, right? Leave them a little bit of time, then come back and say, well, do you want to resolve this now, that's between us. Okay? Which they may say, well, it's water under the bridge, I don't really want to go back there. Which brings me on to my final 11th point. Know when to give up for the sake of the relationship. So not all conflicts have to be resolved. You can have some unresolved conflicts that remain unresolved in order to save the relationship, whether that be friendship or a romantic relationship or a relationship between parents and children, whatever the relationship is. Okay, I had a friend recently who didn't like an aspect of the way I behaved or the way I went about things. I didn't agree with them and a conflict arose. Now that person didn't speak to me for a very long time, and then they suddenly wanted to come back into contact with me. Now I could have dragged the conflict back up and said, well, hold on a minute, this is the reason why we weren't friends. Why have you suddenly not then wanted to resolve the conflict? But I actually realised that if I wanted to resolve the conflict, it was going to end up pushing our friendship out the way. So I decided to let go of the conflict, even though it was unresolved. I decided, well, I'm going to have this guy's friendship instead of trying to, go be a vigilante and try and solve the conflict and, deal with the conflict. So there you have it. Those are my 11 rules of conflict management. Thank you for watching.